Hello, and welcome to Japanese Craft Beer Reviews. Today we're going to start, I guess we can call it a tangent, a series of beers that are not craft beer, are Japanese, not craft, but from the four major companies, and also one other unusual characteristic. They are either low or non-alcoholic. And I'm going to be taking a look at all of the beers that the four Japanese majors make, and those four are Asahi, Kirin, Sapporo, and Suntory. And we'll look at all the available beers that are non-alcoholic from them, except one which hasn't quite made it to my area yet, which is a new one. Non-alcoholic beer or low alcoholic beer, of course, has a very long history. In medieval Europe, it was something that was called small beer, and it's been around in many countries for a long time. During Prohibition in the United States, beer was made under 5%, and of course, homebrew was made. So the temperance movement had an effect on the production of beer. Of course, it eliminated beer production, and people were looking for something that tasted like beer. In 1990, Anheuser-Busch produced O'Doul's, which became a big hit, and Miller had their Sharps beer as well. This kind of beer is very popular in certain countries in Europe, Germany in particular, and of course in the Middle East, where alcohol is frowned on or banned. It's non-alcohol beer is 1/2 of all sales of beer. And we'll be looking at the characteristics of non-alcohol beer, and then in different countries which are popular brands, and then finally Japan. These beers are commonly lagers, but nowadays you'll find pale ales, IPAs, stouts, wheats, sours, all kinds. And I'll put a link to an article, a couple of articles actually, in the description section, so you can read more about this if you like. In many countries, non-alcoholic beer is by far the fastest growing sector, and that is true in Japan as well. Young Japanese are not drinking alcohol as much as their elders have, and beer sales have been declining for like 16 years in a row. And in fact, a bar opened in Tokyo called 0%, and it's apparently the first complete non-alcohol bar in the country. It's popular for its health benefits, of course, but unpopular among many people for a variety of reasons, and the most common is the taste defects. The processes that are used to make non-alcohol beer lead to a loss of aromatic esters, which are a prime feature of the aroma in beer, and also changes some other compounds as well. So basically, two ways of producing non-alcohol beer, and one of them is restricting fermentation, and the other is removing the ethanol alcohol from the beer. And restriction of fermentation can take a variety of forms. I won't go into all of them. Some of them are, for example, interrupting the fermentation, or cold fermentation to very low temperature fermentation to inhibit the production of alcohol. Special yeasts to try to produce a low alcohol beer. And ethanol removal, there are a number of ways to do it: vacuum evaporation, vacuum distillation, extracting through membranes, filtration, reverse osmosis, so many different types. And I read a few articles about this, and I didn't quite understand many of them. So in any case, breweries, there are a number of breweries that have produced beers these days, and you can find them listed many places, and you can find them in your market probably. Brewdog has produced Nanny State.
Weihenstephaner, Hefeweizen, alcohol-free is another one. Rate Beer didn't allow them before, but now they do under low or no alcohol beer, and they have three categories: pale, dark, and wheat. And so a variety of very respected breweries are producing these. Weird Beard, Tiny Rebel, Schlenkerla, the smoked beer mavens in Germany, Mikkeller, and here in Japan recently, Kyoto Brewing, one of my favorites, Kyoto Brewing, produced a 1% Saison, and which is just maybe a little bit too high to be considered, but actually I think on Rate Beer it's up to 3% for low alcohol. So, and the beer is called Rebel Without a Cause. In Japanese it's Waka Genotari, which is translated as youthful indiscretion. So 1% Saison even. And some of the beers that we'll look at are made without fermentation. They're called beer taste inro, or beer taste beverage. And in general, the limit to be considered in this category is up to 0.5%. And we're going to look at a number of beers from these four Japanese breweries. In 2009, Kirin brought out their Kirin Free, which is a big hit. And then Asahi brought out their Dry Zero. Asahi Super Dry was the most popular beer in Japan. It still may be, I'm not sure, Super Dry. And they brought out Dry Zero, and that became #1 in sales for all non-alcohol beers, and I think it is currently. Asahi has 3 that we'll look at. Kirin has 4, and Suntory also has 4, and Sapporo 2. And we're going to look at 4 other beers that are contracted beers for the Japanese market. When there's one more by Asahi, which is called Brewry, B-E-R-Y, and it's been released in certain areas of Japan, but not where I live, so we'll look at that a little bit later. Okay, so we're going to start with Asahi, 3 alcohol-free beers from Asahi, and then we'll move on to Kirin, and then Sapporo and Suntory. Okay, and let's see what we get. Okay, I can't say I'm really looking forward to this, but we'll give it a go. Okay. And now let's take a look at some other types of non-alcohol or low-alcohol beers. We just looked at a whole series of beers from the 4 Japanese major brewing companies, and we've ended that now. And now I'm going to go on to some beers that are contract brewed for the Japanese market that are low or non-alcohol. And the first one we're going to start with is this. It's called Brewry, spelled as you can see here, B-R-E-W-R-Y, and it's called a premium lager. And this is what we would consider low alcohol. It's above the 0.5 threshold for non-alcohol beers, and it's at 0.9% alcohol. This is made by South Australia Brewing, which is a Lion company, which is now part of Kirin Holdings, the larger holding company that produces, among other things, Kirin beer. And on Rate Beer, this one has 3 ratings. Rate Beer hasn't really allowed these kind of beers much. Now I think they do. And 3 ratings at 1.87 out of 5. Pretty low, and even for the style, which is low or non-alcohol beer. Untapped, 22 ratings at 2.16 out of 5. Okay. I have had this before. It's been a long time, about 8 years, and at that time I rated it 2.0, and that's probably just throwing something at the wall, just saying leaving it there. In any case, let's give this a go again. 0.9%, so it's got just about 1% alcohol. This is quite widely available around Japan in liquor stores, always to be found in the no alcohol, low alcohol beer section. Okay, it's a little bit dark, lightly kind of dark amber, see-through, very minimal carbonation rising, about a half a finger, even less, of kind of sloppy white head. Okay, aroma, oh boy, we've got some typical cardboard, kind of dark extract or molasses, some kind of garbage stinkiness. Ooh, not so pleasant. Again, the flavor similar, harsh molasses. Goes a little bit sweet in mid palate. Final is raspy and rough and like metallic. Yeah, I don't know. After having so many of these, I wouldn't put this up there with any of the better ones. The best one I think we had was Sapporo Umami Shibori. And this doesn't belong up there. This tastes completely cheap, completely artificial. Yeah, nothing you really want to drink. And one of the main benefits of these, of course, is they don't have alcohol. If you want something that doesn't have alcohol, but they don't really taste like beer. They're cheap as can be, but anyway. Once again, this is called Brewry Premium Lager, made by South Australia Brewing Lion Company, owned by Kirin Holdings now. You can find this in many of your discount liquor stores in Japan, and you may want to give it a go. I don't know if they have it anywhere else in the world. I kind of hope not. Okay, well that's it. We're going to look at another one in our next video, and we're almost done with these low no alcohol beers. I'm not really sure why I started. Yeah, but we're almost done. Bye-bye.